I want to welcome you back to the D-Lo Show. I am your host, Ryan D-Lo Delosier, and I'm here covering more of this Operation Net Nanny stuff. So we talked earlier about Fred Thompson, the guy who was from Union Gap, and he got 74 years old. I think he was 71. Yeah, no, actually, it probably would have been in his late 60s when he got caught up in the Operation Net Nanny sting. And finally, he went and appeared before a judge and a jury this week, and they found him guilty for his role. What happened was the mom, it was a police officer posing as a mom, and of an 11 and 13-year-old, and wanted Fred to come over and mentor them into how to be, yes, yeah, in a not so good way. So today I want to talk a little bit more about this. So while Fred is now sitting in the cell waiting for the judge to decide how long he's going to spend behind bars, there are four people in Olympia who are trying to change the rules of this game. And the rules that they're changing are in what's known as Senate Bill 5312. So if this bill passes, the lifetime supervision for these guys like Fred and Hayden Erlinson and just others, the 311 guys that were caught up in this sting. I'm guessing I assume it's guys. I didn't know what the gender of the people were who were called, who actually went to these houses. But anyways, 311 of them in the state of Washington. The lifetime supervision that they have that goes along with this, where they have to register and they have to, check in with the state until the day they die, which is what they should do because they're pedophiles. That through Senate Bill 5312 could vanish. So the bill is sponsored by four Democratic senators in the state of Washington. Linda Wellman, she is from the Mercer Island area, and she's up for election in 2028. It's a pretty safe seat for her because she's also, this is just great, because she's also the chair of the Early Learning and K-12 Education Committee. Seems like a great person for this one right here to be someone who really cares about kids. And anyways, so she's on that. She's chairing this one. There's Noel Frame and Seattle, Ballard, Queen Anne, Magnolia area up for re-election this year. Her district is one of the most liberal in the state there in Seattle. Challengers usually come from within her own party, so very progressive, very, very, very left-leaning. And then there's Tawana Nobles. She's represents the University Place, Lakewood, and then Fircrest area. This represents a historically purple swing district, so it's trimmed, but it does trim blue. She is also a former school board member, so involved with more children there as well. And then Claire Wilson, Democrat, from the Federal Way, Auburn, Milton area, and she's up for election in 2026 this year. So two of them up here are going to be up for re-election this year. For Claire, this is a more moderate working class district, and she often faces more competitive Republican challenge than other Seattle-based senators. So most of this area, if you know Washington, that area of the state, that King County area, kind of, if with the way it goes is the way the rest of the state goes, because that's where really a lot of the population lies. So it's very blue there, while the rest of the very Democratic, while the rest of the state is very red along the line right there. So this once again is Senate Bill 5312, and if this passes, what it does is it takes away the lifetime supervision for people that are caught up in these stings like Fred and Hayden were, and makes it so that they don't have to register for life. It just because it was considered a victimless crime. So the bill is sponsored again by these people. So Lisa Wellman from Mercer Island, Noel Frame from Seattle, Tawana Nobles from Pierce County, and Claire Wilson from Federal Way. And their argument on this, okay, their reasoning for bringing this Senate Bill 5312 to the floor is that they say because no real child was involved in the Net Nanny sting. So lifetime registration is excessive for these individuals because they didn't actually commit the crime. And if you remember, these were individuals who texted back and forth. There was 311 of them caught up in the Operation Net Nanny sting, let alone any other stings that may have happened as well. 311 of them caught up in this sting, in the sting since I think 2015 to until present date. They were caught up in this, and they thought they were texting with a 11-year-old or a 13-year-old or the mother of someone who had an 11 or 13-year-old and was looking for someone to mentor their child. Yep, sick. So these people showed up thinking that's what they were going into, and when they walked through the door, it wasn't a child there, it wasn't an 11-year-old, wasn't a 13-year-old, it wasn't a mother with their children there ready to give them over to these wolves. It was instead usually a SWAT team or a police department. They're ready to arrest these individuals. So the report that I had just covered, the WSIPP, the state's own researchers found that these men look exactly like hands-on offenders. Yes, that report, you can go back to it. It's on the previous episode right there. But the report found this was a report that was gone over. The representatives in our state they asked the Washington State Patrol, because they're spending a lot of money doing this, a lot of resources, and they want to make sure that it works. Like, how does this work? Is it working? And so when they did, the research found that the individuals who went and, say, molested kids, like the ones that were caught in traditional ways where they went out, and then there was the other group that was caught through Operation Net Nanny, all of the measurable factors that they looked at between these two sets of people, they looked just like the real deal. Okay. Operation Net Nanny offenders versus the hands-on actually did it offenders. The data looked almost exactly the same. There was no significant difference between the two. The only reason there wasn't a real victim is because the Washington State Patrol was there first. They were at the house there instead, pretending to be a 13, 11-year-old, but there wasn't a kid there instead. So the Republican caucus on this is fighting back hard. They're calling this an attempt to lower penalties for sex offenders, which, yeah, do we want to do that? You might want to think about that. All right, let's look at who these people are. So who are these individuals who are supporting this bill? So Lisa Wellman and Twina Nobles, they aren't up for election until 2028. So they're pretty comfortable right now with this. But Noel Frame and Claire Wilson, they're up for re-election this year, as I mentioned earlier, 2026. So as November rolls around, you're in that district. Just remember some of these people. Do you want someone who wants to, basically you need to ask yourself before you vote for these individuals is, do you want our sex offenders to have lower penalties? I don't know. Is that what we want? I don't. Yeah. Anyways, not Yakima will not vote for that. They are up for re-election once again in 2026. So you live in Federal Way or Seattle. These are the names on your ballot deciding the fate of a predator, say here in Union Gap. Like we here in Yakima, we here in Union Gap would like you to not vote for those people, to keep them on there, because they don't. The way you pick things is going to affect what happens statewide. It's interesting, isn't it, though, that not one of the sponsors represents our area. They're all over there. They're all in that Seattle area. So not one of them has to walk past the house where Hayden Erlinson was caught, or the down by the Valley Mall where Fred Thompson worked forever. And they see these data points and reform opportunities, and we see a community trying to keep its kids safe. We had 16 kids, or not 16 kids. We saved the Operation Net Nanny from 2019 until I believe 2023, or actually 2019 when they came here to Yakima area and did it. They caught 16 people in our area doing that. That's 16 kids in the Yakima area because of Operation Net Nanny that are off the streets now, or at least pending trial, and don't have to, or that won't be out offending 11-year-olds and 13-year-olds or any underage kids. Don't forget about the in rebar plea. Okay, we had that as well. Brent Adkins from Natchez, he used this in rebar plea, and he just got 2 days in jail. Okay, if SB 5312 passes, someone like Adkins, who already received a massive break, would have even less oversight. And then so we take a look at Gary Clark, former mayor of Zilla. He actually raped 2 girls. Okay, 2 real girls, not police officers acting as that. You know what he got? Remember what he got? 6 months. That's right. The system's already leaning towards leniency for these guys. If you're well connected out there and it's who you know, like, it's a 2-tier justice system, right? I mean, it shouldn't be. Justice should be blind. But for people like Gary Clark, he's probably grateful that it's not. So do we really need to make it easier for the rest of the Net Nanny list, for all the 311 others that are on there? Fred Thompson spent years writing letters to the editor demanding public oversight and trust in our lawmakers. Well, Fred, here's some oversight for you. We're watching the courts and we're watching the Senate. If you're in the 30th or 36th districts, pay close attention to Claire Wilson and Noel Frame this November. Ask them why they think a man who drives to a house with condoms to meet an 11-year-old shouldn't be supervised for life. Hey, there's another one here that we have that I'm going to be covering later too. He drove from that district. He drove from Everett, not necessarily this one, but he drove from that area over there, from the Seattle area, to Yakima to meet a 13-year-old. Yep, we'll get to that one here down the road too. I'm going to hit that podcast up here. But we have another one who's on the 16 list here of individuals who were caught in the Operation Net Nanny scheme that happened here in Yakima. One of those individuals drove over Snoqualmie Pass, Menashtash, Lower Umptanum, and northern and southern Uptanum ridges to get to Yakima in hopes of meeting a 13-year-old, but instead met Yakima Police Department. As we take a look at more of this right here, so as we're going through, I'm just glad that you staying along for the ride right here. Make sure you guys are staying vigilant with things and keep an eye out for our kids because they need people looking out for them as well. The predators are out there. We need to be protecting those kids. Once again, if you enjoy this, go ahead and like, subscribe, follow, tell your friends, and I'll keep cranking out episodes. Have a great day.